They were known for being the
Yeah.
positive, happy, fun-loving dating couple from the Amazing Race 9. Please welcome to the Random Reality Star podcast, Dave and Lori. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
So my first question is, what made you guys apply for the race? Because obviously in your intro practice, you said that you're into board games and strategy and all that fun stuff, but the Amazing Race is kind of like the physical gauntlet. You're panicked all the time. So what made you want to apply for this?
Lori.
We're probably just a little bit crazy.
Lori really wanted to do it. We did not have a video camera at the time, so we just got on eBay and got a video camera and went for it. I really thought there was absolutely no chance we could get on, and we totally got on.
Yeah, so going even before the race started, did you guys have any first impressions of the teams, like maybe seeing them in the hotel, and maybe who was most like what you perceived them to be and who maybe wasn't?
I'd say probably in the casting process, the people that ended up being the most like who they were BJ and Tyler.
For sure.
For sure. And that was probably one of the only teams, too, that we actually guessed would be chosen out of all the people that were trying out and that actually got on.
Yeah, so going into the race, you obviously had 8 seasons to watch, or 7 seasons, or I don't know how many were filmed, 8 or 7 going into it. So what did you expect going into the race, and maybe how did that change while running it?
Oh, did we have expectations? You know, we did. We had watched probably all of the seasons. The season before ours was the family season. And so we had contemplated actually trying out for that one. We didn't want to do a family one, so that's why we didn't. But we'd watched all of them, and I think we thought it was going to be actually harder than it was. At least I did. I thought there was going to be more a whole nother aspect of like having to sleep outside in a lot of different places, or needing to bring your own things that maybe would help you out. Like, I don't think we realized that like everything that we would need, they would provide us. And so we just kind of thought it'd be a little more difficult than it was in that aspect.
Yeah, so starting the race, who did you guys initially bond with, and did you have any rivalries that we didn't get to see?
Not really rivalries, because you're all kind of thrown in together. I'd say, like, if there was a rivalry, they were rivals with everybody, and that was just tongue in cheek. It was Lake and Michelle were rivals with everybody. But the people that we bonded with the most were like Ray and Yolanda.
Mm-hmm.
We were just had very similar attitudes towards what was going on around us, and we got along pretty great.
Yeah. But we got along with just about everyone, though. It's a matter of, are you close enough in actual time and space to be around them while you're racing around the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going into it, you have to go to Brazil, and you guys are doing really well. You go to the hotel, you get the clue. But how cool was that? Was it the helicopter detour?
Oh.
I'm terrified of flying in general. I would probably be like John and Scott, like, please let me out of here. Like, this is a disaster. So how cool was that? And how cool was it not only flying, but you kind of had to use your brains navigating and stuff. So how fun was that?
It's funny, like on the race, you kind of like drop out of like what you consider to be your normal mind and just kind of get in this sort of race mentality where the rest of the world kind of shuts off. It's funny because like we would tend to get super nervous in those situations, and like we were actually as fast and as dead on as I think we could have been in the moment. And the helicopter was insane. Like it's awesome. It's a 2-seater, so it's like it's a small helicopter. And then you're riding over this city that is a huge city. This to the horizon.
You could not see the end of the city. It was
skyscrapers and buildings.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'm glad we chose that that activity.
Yeah, not the freaking mechanics. Oh my god, that was horrible.
Yeah, but the motorcycle together was
not interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, what was it like? I mean, you guys actually had like a couple, not really foot races, but I mean, I didn't assume that you were in last. Oh my God, I'm illiterate right now. I didn't assume that you were in last, but what was it like? Kind of, you're getting lost. You're trying to find the soccer stadium. You see Wanda and Desiree pass you. Like, I mean, obviously you don't know what position you're in, but are you panicked during that? Like, how are you feeling? Like,
Oh yeah,
feel comfortable.
when they dropped us off at the soccer stadium, we were actually dropped off in the front of the soccer stadium, and there were specific instructions to be dropped off at a certain gate access point, which was on the back of the stadium, right? And then that allowed those teams to run straight in, whereas we had to come in the front door and go all the way around the security fence and then in. And it wasn't that big of a deal. We were just super relieved to get there because that leg was kind of long to get to that point. And we were just thankful for being there at all.
Yeah, it was, I mean, everything was still so brand new, you know, it's our first leg. We're still trying to figure it out. And this is our first time going to the mat. So I think there was just a lot of adrenaline and a lot of nerves and yeah.
Was there anything maybe that we didn't get to see in that first leg that you wish was shown possibly?
Wow.
They did leave out one activity that we did. We had to go into this little shop that had a snake charmer.
No, they showed that.
Did they show it?
They did show that. Yeah.
Okay.
It was their not their language. It was their religion, one of the religions of the area.
Okay.
They were practicing one of their things.
That was really weird.
No,
yeah, they didn't show the snakes. They only showed like the people in the white outfits or whatever they were wearing. So it's weird.
Yeah, there was one guy kind of like running around with a snake, and I think it was just to light the candle in observance. You know, that was like the important part of it or whatever. But I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many things that they leave out, but then again, it's been 16 years since we've been on, so it's really hard to like think of those things this far on. But I mean, if you jog our memory, I'm sure that we'll be able to come up with something for you.
Yeah. So how awful was climbing those stairs? Because that looked miserable.
Okay.
I live in a one-story house, so that does not look fun at all.
Okay, Connor, it was 40 floors of now you think of a back and forth like a American fire escape. These were circular fire escapes, right? 40 floors, and I am not in good shape. I've never been in good shape, right? And people were passing me, and you get to the top, I was just about ready to throw up and pass out. And then while I was on my way up, they brought out gurneys and
the backboards, the wooden braces, like backboards in case somebody had fallen to
like the local ambulance, like local medical were bringing out gurneys and stuff in case anybody got hurt or whatever. Yeah, it was hard.
That was crazy.
I think maybe that's why like Danielle was having an emotional breakdown. Maybe it was because of the gurneys. Like, were you like to production? Were you like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, is this safe? Like, what the hell are you doing?
I mean, there's not enough time to stress about it too much. However, I mean, they tell you to cheer for your team as your teammate as they're coming down. So I cheered for every person that came down, and
because you can't see who's coming down, it was that far up,
so high up. So Joseph came down, and then Lake came down.
I got passed by everybody that had any sort of physical acumen at all. So,
but tell them about when they threw the rope over the side.
Oh yeah, okay. So the rappelling rope, they throw it over not throw it over the side because it's already over the side, but like the weight of the rope weighed more than I did, right?
Oh my God.
When you climb over, they strap you in to the rope, and then you climb over the edge, and then all of a sudden the rope is pulling you off the building. You're already rappelling, right? That was so scary, dude. And then about halfway down the rope, the amplitude in the rope swings way out from the building, so you don't have the comfort of being able to place your feet on the building. You're just dangling, 20 floors up.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
So we decided when we got the clue that told us that we were going to do this event, you have to decide who's going to do it. So we didn't know what the event was going to be before we did it, and Dave goes, well, I'll just go first. And I am forever
then we'll just
grateful.
flip.
And
Yeah.
then we just swapped after that. So every other one we just do, so we didn't have to think about who's going to do this or whatnot. But I'm forever grateful that he did that, because I don't know if I could have.
Yeah. So after the stairs and after you get on the bus, I bet you're thrilled when you see one of the options for the detour is you have to climb up a giant rock wall. I bet you're totally thrilled with that, and that's totally why you chose sugarcane, because you knew you were going to crush that.
Yes.
So,
That's exactly right. And it's kind of sciencey, and like that's right up my alley. And there you go.
And it was fun and not hard. So I mean, we were glad we chose it.
did you have any trouble with the cars in that leg? Because those look like a nightmare for pretty much everyone. Did anything happen to you? Because you finished fourth, obviously, in the top of the pack. But what happened to you?
Okay, so this is like secret, like not secret info, but they didn't show it on the show. Is there was one place where you had to go and get a clue at an old abandoned church, right? And we drive our VW bug up to the church, and we run into the church and grab our clue, and it tells us to go to another spot, of course. So we're getting back in the car, and I don't have any, past with a VW bug. I did not know that you have to push that stick in to get it into reverse. So we couldn't get the thing in reverse, and we're on the Amazing Race. We couldn't get our car in reverse. So we had to get out and push the car. We put it in neutral and pushed it. Did a little 3-point turn by pushing it and then getting out. It was, that was a panic moment.
We were so proud of ourselves that we knew how to drive stick, because we knew like you have to be able to drive stick. Like they're going to throw something crazy at you that. But then still got tripped up by
I can drive stick. I just can't drive VW stick.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teams that have been eliminated just by driving stick. So if you don't know how to drive stick in Amazing Race, you're screwed.
That's exactly right.
So after that second leg, were you excited to do the zip line? Because it's early in the morning. I'd be like, I'm tired. I need a coffee. Like,
the zip line, I think, was after we had a 36-hour layover.
Yeah.
So they give the crew and the camera people time to recover, and they make their plans and whatnot. So we stayed at a coffee plantation resort kind of thing for 36 hours, and then we did that the next morning. So we were primed, like we were ready to go. I'm completely scared of heights though, so it was rough for me. I think Lori totally handled it well, but the zip lining was bad on Dave.
Yeah, the climbing up wasn't the problem for me, and we climbed up the side of this small hill, mountain, whatever. But it was that I didn't weigh enough. Like I wasn't tall enough, and I didn't weigh enough to actually start the zip line. So I'm just like dangling for a few seconds before somebody comes up and like has to push me off.
And then you're off.
Well,
that was a little scary.
Well, I guess that's a good problem to have. Like, I'm too skinny and I'm too short. Like, look at me.
Right?
So great.
There was not enough of a runway for me to be able to walk off myself, like jump off.
So what's your reaction? Were you going to like, Brazil seemed like nice and warm almost and not too bad. And then you get to go to daggone Russia. So what were you thinking going to Russia? Because Lake was really pissed off. He's like, God damn it, I did not want to go to Russia. So what was your thoughts?
Like, Russia is, some people have the clever idea, and we completely copied them, that the language barrier, even if you're phonetically saying something right, the intonation or the accent or something is off. Like, we were never understood. We went around in the plane on the way to Russia and got some phrases, some common things to say in Russian so that we could at least communicate with whoever we were going to communicate with.
And I don't think it helped at all.
It didn't work at all. Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't disappointed to go to Russia.
No.
Russia is a beautiful country. The language barrier was a big problem.
They have a TGI Fridays
in their airport. It's delicious.
It's a mind bend. You go there and it's so new and foreign to our Kansas eyes. And then when you're done with that leg of the race, or you're on your way somewhere else and you're at the airport, oh, they got a TGI Fridays. There's a teenage girl in a punk rock outfit working there. They're
cool.
Exactly like us. They're just in a different part of the world.
Yeah, so was that swimming roadblock bad, or was it like, because I wasn't sure because the way that it looked like steamed up. So was it like warm or was it like freezing? Because Russia is already cold, so I can't even imagine if it was like
Yeah.
double the amount of freezing.
The other pools were totally heated, and I don't remember it being really cold, so they must have all been heated.
Yeah, that must have been nice.
And I'm pretty sure they were, and it was a lot of naked Russians. A lot of naked Russians. Yeah. But it was just a factor of like, get your swimsuit on, get going, and then I made myself, you walk all the way up, you walk all the way off, and then you just jump. Like there's no, if you stop, you won't do it. Like
Yeah.
that's my problem. If I stopped, I wouldn't have done it. So you just up and off and be done.
I mean, as long as you do better than Wanda, you'll be okay.
Oh,
She struggled.
Wanda's great though.
Yeah,
So-
but
After that, you guys seem to be in a decent position, but how awful was that taxi getting to the trolley park? Because that looked like the
We
worst.
drove,
we drove around and around and around,
yeah,
and we joked
and the
that
poor guy.
we saw every McDonald's.
Yeah, we
passed
did.
every McDonald's in Russia on our
Yeah.
way. We were so hungry. At
So
that
hungry.
Point.
Like you don't get much of an opportunity to eat except on the layovers. You just kind of eat plain food, and you just are going all day long. So we're like, stop it, rush McDonald's. No, but yeah, it took forever to get to the trolley. And then the trolley thing was kind of a bummer because that was probably our first run-in with the rules. So there are certain criteria that you have to meet on those events that you absolutely have to do it the right way. You don't half-ass it like Bertram's. Don't half-ass it.
And the trolley was not like, you think trolley and you think of something like not
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah,
You're thinking it's like a trolley, right? And it's like a Greyhound bus.
It was so
It's
big.
huge.
Yeah, so is that why you picked the trolley? Because cleaning, to be honest, is very physical. Like it's a lot of physical work, it's a lot of attention to detail. And you saw Eric and Jeremy and Ray. I mean, you didn't see it obviously running, but we saw like Eric and Jeremy and Ray and Yolanda and Fran and Barry get through the whatever those creepy like 16 doll things are where you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, why didn't you pick the trolley?
I thought that I don't know, like we just got basic information as to what each event was, and you're like, clean a trolley, like yeah, I mean you could just, is it just like cleaning your car or something? Like we've done that over and over again. Certainly we could do that. There's an
element of luck to trying to find something inside a nesting doll or trying to break the bottle. And so I think for me, I figured, well, we could clean that trolley probably faster than we would have. I mean, there's usually a time limit when you're having to look for those things, like you can only do one per, so often, or, and so it just seemed like maybe we'd have a little bit more control over our destiny that way.
So did you think that you were in last at that point, like after cleaning the bus with Joseph and Monica and like being kind of paired with the girl teams? Did you think that you were in last? Because you seemed shocked, like when you got to the mat, you were like, what?
You don't want to be last because you're trying and trying and trying, and you're just exhausted. You don't have much bandwidth for anything else. You don't want to be last. And then when you get there and you hear that you came in last, it sucks all the air out of you, and you're just like, oh. And then they're like, but it's a non-elimination leg, and you're like, oh, like we've heard that before. So it was, I don't know that I assumed we were in last. I knew that we were probably pretty much at the back of the pack. Like it had taken us all day to do all of these tasks. And then it was dark when we got to Red Square, and we had a really hard time finding Phil at the mat. Right.
We ran around the church.
I can't remember what it's called. It's okay.
Yeah, we ran around the cathedral.
St. Peter's Cathedral.
Yeah, a couple times before we found him. So we knew we weren't doing great. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously that's a kick in the ass, finishing in last. So what was your mentality? Because he obviously said you're still racing, so you don't have time to really think about it. I mean, you probably do on your flight because you're heading to Germany, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe what was your mentality going from last and kind of getting this new like wind of energy, I guess you would say?
You just keep doing, you just keep moving forward. If you take too much time to worry about what position you're in, on the race, you're going to find that you're going to burn up precious bandwidth that you need to actually run it. And we didn't know that going in. Our bodies just kind of defaulted into that mode. You're just in business mode, and that's what you're doing.
And the great equalizer is usually the flight or the mode of transportation.
Yes.
So we got lucky that no one made it out on a flight from Russia that night. So
I mean,
we were
other than
all-
the front teams.
yeah, we were all leaving at the same time the next morning. So it's kind of like, okay, it's a clean slate. We got this. We got a good night's sleep.
Right.
And so we were ready to go.
Yeah. So how cool was that race track car in Germany when you're doing the whole loop-de-loop? It almost looked like a roller coaster, and I don't think I might have vomited if I was in that. So how cool was that?
It was dope. It was awesome. They have all these different like terrains that they drive over,
Mhm.
and then they have this banking thing, or the car went up on its side. And, yeah, it was awesome, and had no clue that we were going to do that. And then to be able to do that was just like a once in a lifetime amazing thing.
And it was
great.
It was actually really smooth. Like I wasn't afraid.
No.
It just was really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you guys do really good with the directions. You get the good directions to the gnome roadblock. You lie to a couple of people even though they knew where they were going.
Mentality going.
Yeah, because it's all luck. Because the roadblock is basically luck, and I mean, you guys, it wasn't dark out, so it was like maybe your mentality would take hours.
Oh. And then we had to go in certain order, right? We had to go in like a certain order.
At the gnome roadblock?
Yeah, we had to wait.
We had to wait
picking.
we had to wait for the team that was there before us to finish, which I think might have been Mojo. I don't quite remember. Yeah, we had to wait for that team to finish, and so we knew that like we were close behind other teams, so that was a really good boost for our confidence. And we're like, oh, okay, we're really cllose, we got this. I don't think it took too long.
No, but I did insider information. I did bottom out our Mercedes Benz, our very expensive car that we drove there.
Well, you're in a field. I mean,
we had to drive down onto the field, and when I drove back up to the road, just driving back up onto the road, I probably ruined that car.
That's not good. That's weird that you have to wait for another team, because Wanda and Desiree and Daniel and Danny didn't have to do that. I guess they wanted that showdown or whatever. So that's weird that you have to wait.
Yeah.
I think
I thought we had to wait. Maybe we didn't. And I'm sorry, my memory's a little
Well,
fuzzy.
we did
you're
have to.
good.
It's like I'd go, they'd say, okay, go to the next one, and then I'd have to choose another one so that they could film each one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we weren't waiting team to team. It was just waiting for the
It might
guy
have
to
been,
reset.
yeah, it might have been waiting for the camera crew to get out of the shot or something.
Yeah.
So that they didn't catch the crews.
So was it kind of cathartic and fun to smash bottles on people's heads, or what was
Yes.
that like? Because I am not a good dancer, so I would have picked the same thing as you. So was that kind of
Yeah.
like a good comic relief thing, or
It was
Whenever so one of the great things about the Amazing Race, or being on the Amazing Race, is you get to share it with other people, right? You get to tell stories, and this is a story that we always tell every time. So when we get to this theater thing, it's at like a college campus of some kind, and it's on a theatrical stage. And we get there, we have to put on lederhosen. And I don't know if you know what traditional lederhosen is.
oh, I do.
Yeah, it's made of leather. And you got to warm it up before you put it on, or else it's not going to fit, right? So we're trying to put this on. I can't get it past my butt. Lori can't get it past her butt.
Oh, they
And-
showed that.
and-
So we're just yelling. So
Yeah, we're like,
just in
"Help."
this little like curtained off area with our crew back there with us, filming us while we're changing, which was really weird. But
That was
we're
odd.
just yelling like, "Hey, these don't fit,"
Yeah.
because they tell, and then they're
And then-
telling us.
And then Bertram's yelling at us, "Don't half-ass it. Put it on the correct way." So they're like, okay,
So
we
we had to-
finally get it on. And then instead of doing the dance, like learning the dance, we're like, let's just, maybe
Smash the bottles.
smash the bottles. It doesn't take much brain power. We'll eventually find one every time it cuckoos, right? So insider information, because I don't know if anyone out there knows this, right? But when I was looking at the bottles, there were probably 1,000 bottles set up. And you had to find the one that had the word Frost on the inside of the label, which you have no clue unless you break it. out of all of these bottles, there's one bottle with just a little piece of gaffer's tape on top, right? I'm like, I wonder why there'd be tape on top of this bottle. So I grabbed that bottle, and it was, it was the one with the word, and we got out of there pretty quick, and we got to catch up.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
You manifested it. You visualized the bottle, and you got it. So then,
yes.
Well, then,
it was fun. I mean, they're easy to break. They were
trick bottles. Yeah. Of course they were.
Right?
Yeah, I assumed that they weren't like smash glass on your head. That would be a lawsuit waiting to happen.
The Amazing Race is really hardcore.
That would be really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going from Russia to Italy, were you excited? Because I would be like, I want some gelato, I want some Italian food, I'm gonna get a glass of wine. So what was your mentality going to Italy?
Well, it's just you realize that it's the Amazing Race is not really traveling. Like in the traditional sense, it's not a vacation. You don't get to stop somewhere and have gelato.
Yeah.
Right.
This is part of the competition.
We were excited to get to a country where we would maybe be able to have some semblance of understanding the language with other people.
Yeah.
Like maybe people would understand English or
Latin-based
and
language.
everyone in Italy was so friendly.
Oh yeah.
Super nice.
Super nice.
So going in Italy, why did you pick, obviously carrying the bell was really physical, but why did you pick laundry, even though that could take hours? And you obviously did struggle with that a decent amount because Danielle and Danny caught up to you, and I think one other team passed you, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah.
Were you really feeling confident in that choice? Or because I've interviewed some teams where laundry roadblocks have cost them the race.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just didn't want to carry the bell.
Yeah, I was overdoing physical challenge kind of things. Yeah, at that point.
And again, it's you just having to make a split second decision. So, you're just like, we'll just try this and hope that it works out.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't terrible. And there were just some rules that we had to follow while we were doing it that made it a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
What were those?
Well, you had to take the clothes off in order, and then you had to put them back on the line in order. So you couldn't just take the clothes off and not put them back on the line. And you had to take them off in order to see if it had the tag, the Amazing Race tag, or not. So it was very tedious. It was also 2 to 3 floors up, and you don't want to drop the stuff as you're like loading and unloading it. It took a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was hard.
Yes, you kind of struggled to get to that kind of like Colosseum. I mean, it wasn't the Roman Colosseum, but it was a Colosseum-esque building.
Yeah,
and then you see Lake and Michelle, and they're right on your ass, and you have to run up that hill. What is that like? And then Danielle and Danny come, and I don't know how far in between they were like from you, but what is that like? Because what it looked like on air was they're right behind you, but they go to the pit stop instead. So what are you thinking in that moment? Because you're like, I can't run. Can't do this anymore.
We saw Barry and Fran coming down when we were going up, if I remember correctly, but I don't think that we saw Lake and Michelle or Danny and Danielle before we got all the way up to the challenge.
Right.
So we didn't know that, we hadn't seen them. We didn't know they were right behind us, but we also went the wrong way the first time we tried to go up the mountain.
Oh yeah.
The map that it has at the bottom was super faded and worn, and like it did not give good directions.
So one route up a small hill was to the mat, and the other route was to the challenge, and we went up the wrong one, and we had to come back down and go up the correct one. Yeah.
Wait, so what did Phil say when you saw him on the mat? Or was he like, what the hell are you doing here?
No,
we turned around like as soon as, we could see it in the distance, and so we didn't make it all the way there.
Yeah.
But we turned around as soon as we went the wrong way.
Yeah, so going into that Roman Coliseum, obviously it looks great. But what did you think about doing a puzzle? You obviously said that mental stuff was your strengths. And I really wish there were more puzzles in the Amazing Race because you don't really get to see them too often. So what were your thoughts maybe going into it? And then what was it like realizing that 2 pieces were kind of dummies, but you didn't realize it and you were like panicked? So take me through that entire process.
Yeah, the puzzle wasn't hard. It was super simple. The pieces didn't weigh a ton. Like it wasn't hard. I mean, the end of daylight, like the day was ending, and so that made it a little more difficult as it went on. But getting started wasn't difficult and doing it. I think the pressure kind of kicked in once we saw the other teams start to show up, and I was like, oh no, I have to really get going on this. But I think I put that puzzle together, that statue together, I think 3 times correctly before I started freaking out about the pieces and all of that. I just didn't have it smooth like a statue. And it does not say anywhere in the rules it had to be that way, but they would not clear me to go until it was smooth. And I just didn't know that.
It wasn't smooth. There are hired people that act as judges or whatever to see if you've completed something, and they're slightly off camera, and we just didn't have the statue smooth. And then it's kind of what you give them to edit is what they use. They don't edit in a special way to make you look silly or mean or stupid. You know, what you give them is what they use, and that's just how it is. But the she really did have the whole statue together 3 times and took it apart, because when they say no, that's incorrect, and you're like, well, there's these other pieces, let me try to incorporate those and see what's going on. And
it's also the end of a really long day, a really long leg of the race. It was pretty physical, lots of running and going upstairs and trying to find where we were at, and like you just don't eat a lot, so like the tiredness and the lack of food really plays into your mental capabilities, right? Along with the fact that like you're being, you know, it's a timed event, right? And so you're just, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and he's desperately trying to help me from the sidelines.
I was about probably 20 meters away from her. I couldn't stand right beside her as she was doing it. She was doing it by herself.
He couldn't see everything, and then you have Lake next to you kind of talking shit, and so that doesn't help.
Well, did production maybe yell at you? Because I know there's been some teams that have gotten penalties for, I don't know if you were really helping, but did they like, because you were like, look at the thigh, like maybe you were giving her advice. So did they like yell at you or anything?
No, that was allowed. I was allowed to help her from 20 meters away. I could yell, and you know, that's part of the drama of the whole thing. There were things that you got in trouble for, like being too far from your camera and sound person. You have a camera person and a sound person that's with you all the time. And they say if you move more than 20 feet away from them at any point in time, that's dangerous. And it really is when you're out in the world and there's, you know, people that want to kidnap Americans for ransom. It's a safety thing. There's rules like that can be broken.
Yeah, but he didn't get in trouble for helping me. And actually, I think they probably encouraged it a little bit.
So once you hit the mat and you have to deal with people getting yielded and kind of like that 4-way, I mean, you probably didn't see Ray and Yolanda, I don't think, but it was really,
that happened.
It was pretty close as far as timing goes. So once you hit the mat, you seem really broken as far as like the leg. You just seem like exhausted, and you kind of were. It was the first time where as viewers we kind of saw you really break. So what was your mentality maybe going into the layover, just kind of like picking up the pieces and kind of getting everything back together, because you just seemed like really broken then and just tired?
So I think if memory serves correctly, that night we got to the mat, and then we were issued off of the mat, and then you go and you do your exit interviews for that day. So that takes a little bit of time. And then you go to where everyone's staying the night, and you have a little bit of a little buffet that they set up for everybody, and hang out a little bit. And then you get taken to a hotel and stay the night, and then you get up pretty early the next morning so that you can go. So we didn't have much sleep, and we were really tired and really exhausted. So going in to that last day for us, like we were just out of it.
We were just tired.
Yeah. There wasn't much energy, and then we ended up having to drive across Sicily,
all the way across the island.
Like we were in North Sicily at the time. I think it's Siesta, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to drive around the East Coast, but to just get to the highway is where I lost a lot of time. We were kind of off the highway and down some country roads, and I ended up getting lost on those country roads to get back to the highway the next morning. So that put us way behind everybody.
Yeah, and you can't sit maybe we did get to sit next to each other in that car. typically you can't sit next to your partner.
I think we were in the Fiat.
Yeah, and you can't listen to the radio, and there are kind of some constraints, like you're not allowed to do some things. So like, I think if we'd been able to listen to the radio, we could have been singing along and maybe been awake, but we were just exhausted.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the combination of you being like exhausted, kind of mentally broken, and then so that really had an effect on your performance besides the traffic.
Yeah, the traffic wasn't bad going there. It was the
When we
really
got there.
long drive first thing in the morning. It was, I want to say it was 3 to 4 hours of driving
It was a long
to
time.
Catania, and or on the way to Catania, that is, and the sun's in your eyes and you're sleepy, and we like
stopped a couple times.
We stopped a couple times to switch drivers because we were just falling asleep at the wheel, and like it was a mess. But we did get to Catania, and we were pretty much in contention. We saw other teams once we got there doing the things, you know, the events. So we weren't too behind.
Yeah, we heard we were only 15 to 20 minutes behind Ray and Yolanda when we came in. Like, we weren't super far behind.
That's weird that they didn't show it, because I interviewed one team from season 4, and they like, it seems like they were like hours behind, but they were like, we only finished like 20 minutes behind a team. So I don't know like why they don't show that, because you would think like just for editing purposes, like it would make for a better show, but it just seemed like you guys were like way far behind compared to other teams.
We weren't. We were in it. We had to carry the fish that day. I remember that through the market. The swordfish, right?
And then I have
the water polo thing. Yeah. I think this is the leg where they didn't show it. We had to count the heads
on a gate. On a fence
around a cemetery, maybe?
No, it's an old Roman. It was an old Roman part that they had buried, you know, but then that was excavated or whatever, and they had this wrought iron fence all the way around that had little heads on it. We had to run around and count the heads, and that didn't make it on the show for some reason, because that was like a clue in a box and everything. We had to get the number exactly right in order to move on.
Yeah, they didn't show that.
Yeah, they showed the number. They everyone was like 41. I was like, 41 of what?
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to do that. And we learned in Italy's where we learned that they have a ton of production staff all around where they're filming, because we tried to ask directions of where we were going on foot to probably about 8 different people, and they all pretended like they didn't know what we were saying, or they didn't want to help us or whatever, and we just couldn't figure out why we couldn't find somebody to help us. And it was because they were all staff and they weren't allowed to help us.
There's this really convenient person that's in our age range that's standing
right here.
Maybe
Can
they'll
I
help
ask
us.
you? And it we just obviously are not in television, so it just took us a really long time to figure out like, we just can't ask them. They can't help us.
So how nasty was carrying that fish? Because I don't think we showed it.
No, the fish was very polite.
Didn't talk back.
It kind of like, you know, the fish juice or whatever. It wasn't that bad. No, I've been fishing.
No, but that was a factor. So when we were done, we had to cross the small bridge before we got to the mat.
Yeah.
Right. And next to the bridge, they had an Italian marching band or an Italian band playing music. They show that right on the air. And we found out as soon as we were done filming that they had the band playing the Italian wedding march. They thought that he was going to propose to me at the mat when we got eliminated. And so all like as many crew members as could be were standing like lined up behind Phil, watching. Everybody had like all excited, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Yeah. You know, and they played this song for us, and like we were just so tired, and we reeked of fish. I was so glad that he didn't propose when we were just, because we both had carried a fish and we're just covered in fish juice.
It was my intention when we came on. I brought a little I don't know, it's sort of like an arts and crafts ring with me. You know, it was like we told them as we were trying out, it's like I might propose to her on the show. They brought the idea up, and I said, yeah, I could probably maybe propose to her on the show. And I even brought a ring, but then you get to that point to, you know, you're getting eliminated. And it was like all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to share this part of my life with the show. I'm not going to give them this really important moment in my life, not out of spite, but just because the time's not right at that point,
We were so sad to be eliminated, and we were so tired, and just like I said, we just smelled. We reeked of fish.
Yeah, so was kayak water polo exciting? Because I've never heard of kayak water polo. I think I've heard of it maybe in a Survivor Challenge but not an actual. I didn't realize it was a sport. I didn't realize that was Italy's national sport. What were you thinking?
Well, I'm heavy set, right? And that type of kayak, the center of gravity is really high. It was scary, and I'm not a good swimmer. And they were really nice to me. That team didn't try to beat me up or anything. They might have tried to block like a few shots, but then eventually they just let me make my shots. And like,
it didn't take you very long though.
No, it was maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I was in the water. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple more questions. This is great, by the way. Do you have any fun sequester stories?
Yes, I'm sure there are tons. Let's see. Oh, okay. So,
you can share whatever you want. This is not a family show, so you can do whatever you want.
Okay, yeah. So we love everybody that was on the show. Like all of the teams, they're wonderful people. They have their own quirks and stuff, and they try to get characters to be on the show because that's interesting, right? That's interesting television and the way that you interact with people and blah blah blah. So we get off, and like Lake is an amazing guy. He's very confident though, very, very cocky, confident guy, which is awesome. And he was asking people as he go, well, did you all really think you could win? It was just like, oh my God, that's so forward. Like, I think everybody goes on with the dream that they're going to win that show. They see themselves winning, right? It's not just on. It's like, I want to win the $1 million, even though it's the opportunity of a lifetime. And I would say, if anybody out there that's watching this has the inkling that they want to do it, if they just want to do it just a little bit, just to see what happens, definitely try out. Don't second guess yourself. Definitely try out, because it worked for us. We just honestly, we sent a goofy tape of ourselves running around our hometown, and we got on the show. Anything can happen.
Yeah. Some fun things that we did in sequester. We had chaperones, so we couldn't hang out by ourselves, but we played like schoolyard pranks. What did we do?
Oh yeah, we there's like a little bit of space between the door jamb and the door, and we put saran wrap on people's doors and then filled it with like newspaper
and balloons,
and then wait for them to knock on their door and wait for them to open their door, and like that, just like prank stuff, And we when we were in sequester, we sequestered in Lisbon, Portugal, for 2.5 weeks after we got out. So it was awesome. We got like money to do things, and we got to run around Lisbon, Portugal, and it's a beautiful city. And while we were there, there's this band that is a international touring band that I was like, hey, could I go see this band? I like bands or whatever. I was in a band at the time, and I was, they were like, oh sure, we'll take you to the show, and little did they know that I know the people from this band. I was like, I'm not going to tell them that I'm friends with them, because I'm not really friends. I'm just acquaintances with them or whatever. But it's really sensitive that people don't see that you're there filming The Amazing Race and you're actually on the show, because they want to keep all that information secret. Well, long story short is we were like towards the front row, and all of a sudden the saxophone player goes like, hey, and then my chaperone grabs my arm and jerks me to the side and is like, we're leaving.
Like he had recognized us and didn't, or he recognized Dave, and didn't. The chaperone was like, you can't be seen, you can't talk to this person, because then you have to say why you're here, and like they don't want anybody to know that we are here. And I
wasn't trying to pull one over on them. I didn't know that they were gonna. It's just a weird thing that they even recognized me at all.
But it was just really funny. She like a couple songs in, he recognized us, and we're like, dang it, we gotta go.
Leave.
So I heard that you were going to be cast for All Stars. I think it's on the Amazing Race wiki page too, that you were alternates. How disappointing was it not to get on All Stars, and how close were you actually like slated to be on it?
We had signed everything. We had signed all the paperwork, gone through all the rigmarole, and we were
an alternate.
Yeah, we were. They called us and said, I'm sorry, we're not going with you. And we were like, oh, we were like crying. And it's a disappointing thing, because at that point, then they kind of, I don't know, the All-Star season was about 10 times what we got. Like, we would have made about monetarily about 10 times what we made the first time we were on. And then we don't get to do that anymore. And it's like, oh.
So it's a kind of a long process. Like, they called us and it was several months before we found out that we were heavily considered. And then it's still probably another month before you find out that you're not actually going to make it. So you kind of have to put your life on hold for a little bit, because you want to do this thing, but you don't know if you're actually going to do it or not. And so you really can't make plans until you find out. So that was, that's kind of frustrating.
It's just part of reality television.
But we were just so excited to do it again, and it would have been so much fun. Yeah. And, we were just sad we didn't get that experience again, but it all worked out.
Yeah, I talked to Monica and Cherie, and they were also alternates from season 4, and they were pissed too. They were like,
yeah.
So,
it's a bummer. Anything could happen. We could have been cast as an alternate, right? Somebody else could have gotten sick or dropped out. And so I think we were really close. They just went in a different direction, and that's okay. Good kudos to Danielle and Eric, because they won. They were the ones that took our place, right?
Also,
I don't think they did, actually, to be honest with you.
Well, they got cast from our season. I don't think they wanted to cast people from our season, so they got picked instead of us. Maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah,
because I heard that they were always going to do a co-ed team, and at first they were thinking the guy from season 4 who won in Lance Bass, and then they didn't work out, and then they were going to pick Flo and one of the twin models from season 3, and then they replaced them with Eric and Danielle because they wanted the whole Rob and Amber thing for Amazing Race. So I don't really know who you replaced, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
so that would be interesting.
We were happy to be considered, but it was definitely a bummer that we didn't get on. They kind of waved this, large sum of money at you for just getting on, and then it goes up from there. And we were like, oh.
Did you get any other calls after that, or?
We haven't, no.
And that's okay. Just getting to be a part of it, it's awesome. Chance of a lifetime, and that we get to share it with people like you, with our friends and family. Have people come up to us, say did you guys know you're on Hulu? That's awesome, right?
Yeah, it was such a wonderful experience, and we were so lucky to get cast when we did. So we were so thankful we got to do it.
Really appreciate you taking the time, and thanks so much, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah,
thanks,
you
Connor.
too. And
bye.